If you're watching this video, then you probably already know that narcissists can tend to be pretty big liars. They tend to lie more than they tell the truth. But some of the lies that narcissists tell are through the things that they don't say. In today's video, I'm going to go over several common things that we assume about narcissists that turn out not to be true. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. The topic of this video was inspired by a comment from one of my listeners talking about the lies of omission that narcissists tell. And I'm not sure exactly what that commenter had in mind when they said that, but the comment did remind me of what I experienced when I started to realize things that I had assumed all along, or started to realize that things that I had assumed all along were not true. And these things were really a huge shock. These are things that I think most of us can assume in relationships with normal people or people that think somewhat similar to the way that we do. These are things that you don't think that you need to ask for clarity for. Like when you go to a restaurant, you assume that when you order your food, they're not going to serve you poison. You don't even think that you need to ask because you just assume that they're going to give you edible food that isn't actually poison. And that's kind of how I felt after a narcissistic relationship, is these questions or these things I had assumed, things that were the actual reality that were so far from my idea of what was possible that I would have never even thought to ask about them. And although, in my opinion, some narcissists knowingly know that they're perpetrating a fraud, and some of them have actually convinced themselves of these frauds, so they're not consciously aware that they're perpetrating a fraud, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because the fraud is just as damaging whether or not the narcissist can admit it to themselves. But I think that narcissists get caught up in these stories that they're trying to make into a reality, these stories, these narratives that they're playing along with, playing pretend. And we can get caught up in that too because we don't realize that we're dealing with someone that is living in a fantasy world. We assume that their experience is as real as our experience. So let me get more specific in case I have already lost you on what exactly it is I'm talking about. The first huge lie of omission is that the narcissist loves you, or at least cares about you. I think this is most shocking in a romantic relationship or possibly a familial relationship, because you assume that the love that you feel is being returned. You assume that the person that you're with feels at least somewhat similar to the way that you do. And because the narcissist mirrors you and somewhat mimics the way that you act towards them to create this illusion that the feelings that you have for each other are mutual, you never think to question this. Especially with the intense emotion that a narcissistic relationship can cultivate, this can be a really powerful illusion. You're in this relationship that I would use the word limerence, that you feel this extreme drug-like euphoric romantic love feeling, and the person that you're with is reciprocating the types of affection that you are showing them or giving them. And you assume that they have the same kind of romantic love for you that you do for them. Of course, none of this is healthy at all, but I think if you've ever been lost in this sort of relationship, you probably know that you certainly aren't aware of that at the time. So this intense drug-like euphoria of this very unhealthy, immature, but very powerful kind of romantic love leads you to assume if this person is staying with you and they're kind of giving you back some of the affection that you're giving them, at least when they're in a good mood, You assume that they must have somewhat similar feelings towards you that you do towards them. And you certainly would never guess in a million years that they're just mirroring you, that they're just kind of playing along, that they're trying to play into this narrative, this story that they've invented. I know for me, when it was all said and done, I mean, the person that I'm talking about, this went on for years. And when it was all said and done, it was a huge shock. It was kind of like the biggest plot twist at the end of a movie ever, to look back and realize, oh, I was in this on my own the whole time. This person didn't have feelings anywhere near what I had for him. I imagined all of this, and he just kind of played along and let me believe that this was a mutual relationship, that he felt at least somewhat about me the way I felt about him. It stung. That was really painful. And I mean, I can't even are there even words for the feeling of realizing that you were so wrong the whole time, that you had assumed something that I think in my case, I think he knew, but he's not going to correct me. He's not going to explain to me that he really just thinks I'm okay to be around. He doesn't really have any special kind of feelings for me, other than how special it makes him feel to be with somebody that's so head over heels for him. So to me, that was the biggest, most shocking lie of omission, is to realize that this was all just a huge fantasy. This was all just something I had assumed the whole time that he had never bothered to correct. Now, some narcissists will come right out and say that they love you. Now, is that not a lie of omission? I mean, is that something different? I really think it's kind of the same thing, whether or not the narcissist says that they love you or that they don't. I think it's more in the atmosphere, in the feeling of the relationship, in the things that you assume, the feelings you assume are being reciprocated that just aren't. These fantasies that we build up in our head that are based on what we should be able to expect from a normal person. If we're in a relationship with a normal person and we're head over heels for them and they're acting similar to the way we're acting towards them, I think it's safe to assume that you're in a mutually romantic relationship where you have mutual romantic feelings for each other. So you should be able to assume those things. It's just not within the realm of possibilities that somebody that you spend years with in a romantic relationship that you have very strong feelings for really couldn't care less about you and just thinks that you're okay to hang out with sometimes. And this brings me to the next huge lie of omission that narcissists tell, and that's that they care about the relationship. When you're in a relationship, and I really am speaking mainly about a romantic relationship in this video, but this really can apply to family relationships and friendships as well. But when you're in an important relationship, or a relationship that's important to you with somebody, you assume that they care about the relationship. So in a romantic relationship, if this is a long-term, exclusive, committed relationship, you assume that your partner cares about the relationship. You just assume that. I mean, you care about the relationship. If it's one that you've been in, that's a serious relationship that's lasted for years, you assume that the relationship is as important to your partner as it is to you. This is not something that you feel like you need to ask, just like you don't feel like you need to ask the server at the restaurant if what they're serving you is poison or not. I know that this lie of omission was a really big problem for me, because no matter how much proof was presented to me that my partner did not care about the relationship, that just wasn't a possibility in my head. So I remained very confused for quite a long time, because I know he cares about the relationship, obviously. So what's wrong here? Why is he acting like he doesn't care? Well, narcissists don't care about the relationship. They care about what they're getting out of the relationship. They care about what they can get out of other relationships. And that's all that they care about. They don't care about cultivating the relationship or building it or finding deeper connections or making it healthier or making it something that you are also getting something out of. They don't care about the relationship. I remember one problem I was having consistently was there was this activity that I enjoyed at first with my partner. And then as we continually engaged in this activity over the years, it became something that he really used to bully me with, constantly telling me that I wasn't doing it the right way, I was holding him back, I wasn't listening, and no matter how hard I tried to do this activity the right way, I was just constantly being bullied and then sometimes getting nonsensical intermittent praise, and it really just turned into this abuse campaign that I continually engaged in. And I remember thinking at one point, I thought that we were doing this activity because it's something that we enjoy doing together. I thought this was part of what we were building our relationship with, you know? I mean, we like to spend time together. We're enjoying this activity together. Why is he constantly criticizing me and making this a miserable experience? I don't understand. I mean, doesn't he care about the relationship? This is about the relationship, not the activity. And I just didn't understand that it actually was about the opportunity that the activity gave him to criticize and bully me and make himself the better, more talented person. The truth is, he didn't care about the relationship. And of course, this carried on into other abuse campaigns where I would be mercilessly criticized, insulted. I would be the object of completely irrational, inconsolable rage. And I would wonder, doesn't he care about the relationship? Can't he see how much damage he's doing to the relationship? I don't know what to do. I don't understand why he's acting this way. And I mean, the truth is, he didn't care about the relationship. He cared about the feeling of control and power that he had when he had something to rage and complain and torture somebody with. And that was another thing at the end of the relationship to look back and really feel like this realization and this shock of realizing, oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he's damaging the relationship, because all he cares about is what he's getting out of the relationship. And if what he's getting out of the relationship destroys the relationship, well, so be it. You know, I mean, when you buy a bottle of ketchup at the store and you just use up all that ketchup, you don't really sit and worry about how that's going to affect the bottle when you're done using up all the ketchup, because you're just going to throw it away when you're done, because you're only in it for what you can get out of it. Another reason that this lie of omission can be so dangerous is that it can lead us to assume that a narcissistic or otherwise abusive partner might be motivated to change for the sake of the relationship. Like, surely he's going to change his ways, or surely she's going to work on her abusive behavior because they care about this relationship, right? They wouldn't want to lose this relationship that I think is so important. I would be willing to change. I would be willing to do just about anything. I would be willing to jump through a million hoops like I've been doing the whole time for the sake of the relationship. Of course, they're going to put some effort into this, right? And of course, as many of us have learned the hard way, narcissists aren't willing to sacrifice really anything for the sake of a relationship. They're pretty convinced that you're the one that needs to change, you're the one that needs to sacrifice, and that the relationship should really cost them nothing. They shouldn't have to put any effort into it. It should just all be given to them, and it should all adjust around their needs. And if it won't, then it's really not worth anything to them anymore. Another huge lie of omission is that the narcissist is loyal to you. We assume that the people that we are loyal to will be loyal to us. I mean, at least within reason, right? We assume that somebody that's important to us, that we have built a relationship with, or that we think we've built a relationship with, is going to be there for us when we need them, just as we plan to be there for them when they need us. This is one of the most important parts of human relationships and connection and trust, is that we know that when you need me, I'm going to be there for you. And when I need you, you're going to be there for me. And we assume that when we're in a relationship with somebody, that this is true. We assume that this person is going to be loyal to us. We assume that they are loyal to us. And narcissists really demand so much loyalty from people that I think it's natural for us to assume that they're going to reciprocate if the situation calls for it. But unfortunately, as many of us have learned the hard way, when situations change in a way that the narcissist is no longer benefiting from the relationship with us, or they've already used our loyalty for what they need it for, we find out they have no loyalty to us whatsoever, and they never have. Narcissists will just abandon you and leave you high and dry, or leave you holding the bag when they need someone to blame for something, or when you've already served your purpose, or when being with you might make them look bad. They are in it for what they can get out of it. They have no loyalty to anyone, even though they demand it from everyone. This can carry over into the conversations that they have with their friends and family, or your friends and family. You don't know what the narcissist is saying about you behind your back, and you might not be worried about it at all. You might be absolutely shocked if you were to realize the things that the narcissist says behind your back. The narcissist might act like they're happy in the relationship, at least sometimes. They might act like they love you and care about you, at least sometimes, and then go behind your back on the same day that they are acting like they're so happy with you and start complaining about you, complaining about things that you don't even know about, or you're not even doing, or just normal everyday things that you have no idea is bothering them. They might say things to friends and family that kind of set the stage for a potential breakup, or maybe just preventative maintenance in case you start talking to people about the things they're doing to you. And they don't necessarily have to do this in a nasty way. They're not necessarily going to go behind your back and just start saying all these nasty things about you. They can say things like, I'm really worried about her. She seems to be forgetting things a lot lately, and it's really frustrating for me. I don't know how to help her. I've tried to tell her to get help, but she doesn't want to, and I just don't know what to do. I'm really at the end of my rope. And that can sound like, oh, what a loving, caring partner, making things up, trying to make their partner look crazy, limit all credibility that person has with whoever it is the narcissist is talking about, right? Well, when we are the victim of that type of a smear campaign, it can be a huge shock. It could be the last thing we would ever suspect is happening behind our back because of these lies of omission, because of these things the narcissist doesn't say. The narcissist probably never said anything to their partner about how they're worried about them and how they're forgetting things all the time, because they completely made it up. But we would never, ever think or suspect that the narcissist is this disloyal to us and would throw us under the bus for things that haven't even happened yet. So whether it's sticking up for you behind your back, or sticking up for you in front of other people, or just being there for you when you need them, when the chips are down, it's a real shock when we finally realize how much loyalty the narcissist actually does not have for us, because the narcissist is never going to tell us. The narcissist is never going to make it clear that they really don't have any loyalty for us at all. That's something that we have to find out the hard way. Another huge lie of omission is that the narcissist appreciates us. This is a huge one because of how much energy and time and all kinds of things it takes to keep a narcissist somewhat happy. I mean, they're never happy, but to maintain a narcissistic relationship takes so much from us in so many ways, and many of us can get caught in this trap of assuming that the narcissist appreciates us. Maybe we're working 3 jobs. Maybe we're spending a lot of time and energy keeping things clean the way they want, or doing their laundry for them. Maybe we let them borrow our car when we really needed it. Maybe we've been babysitting their kids for free all year, or whatever. Maybe we sit and listen to them talk about nonsense for 3 hours just to give them somebody to talk to. And we assume the whole time, well, surely they must appreciate this. surely they must appreciate all the effort I'm putting into this, right? And it can be a huge shock when we realize that they don't appreciate us at all. They don't appreciate anything you've ever done for them because they expect it. I think I've used the analogy before that a narcissist that is receiving huge amounts of time and energy from you has the attitude that you have when you go to the store and you pay with cash and you get your change back. When you get your change back from the cashier at the store, you don't have this huge appreciation for getting your change back because you expect it. You're entitled to that, right? It's the same thing when you're bending over backwards and pouring yourself into this relationship, constantly giving of your time and energy and money and everything and everything that you have, and then some. You assume that the narcissist recognizes this and appreciates it, and they absolutely don't, because they expect more from you than you could ever give them. They expect more from you than you could ever give them. You're supposed to bend yourself into a pretzel trying to make them happy. You're supposed to spend every ounce of time and energy you have on them. You're just supposed to do that. And it's a huge shock when we realize this. I know I had an experience where, I don't know how much detail I want to go into. I think I'm running out of time, but I was basically supporting a narcissist financially. And it's a long, stupid story, but I was working full time and I was not unhappy with this. I just thought I was being supportive and I assumed I was being appreciated until one day I had a conversation about this and realized that this person didn't even view me as somebody that was supporting him. Didn't even view anything I was doing as something that I was even doing for the benefit of the relationship. It was just like, well, no, you're not helping me. I'm the one that's, he thought that he was actually benefiting me so much because of all of the great, amazing things he was going to do, so that I owed it to him to support him, because I was going to be the beneficiary of his genius, I guess. I don't know. And that was a really huge slap in the face when I realized that everything that I was giving without complaint was not in the least bit appreciated and was expected, and that he was actually looking at it as he was doing so much for me just because he existed, I guess. And the last big lie of omission that I want to go over is the fact that the narcissist doesn't care what happens to you. I think that when we are ending a relationship with a narcissist, sometimes we assume that they're going to be reasonable. This is another lie of omission that they're not going to tell you about until you're experiencing the truth. They don't care if, let's say it ends up in court. Maybe it's a divorce that ends up in court. They don't care if the end results leave you homeless or devastated or jobless. They don't care what happens to you at all. They have no concern for your welfare whatsoever. You are, like I said earlier, like a ketchup bottle. And when the ketchup's gone, they don't care they'll just throw you in the trash. And this is so unfathomable. This is so hard to wrap our brains around when we're with somebody that we thought loved us, when we're with somebody that we cared about. I mean, this was supposed to be somebody that was sharing our life with us, we were supposed to be one of the most important people in the world to this person. And we thought we were with someone that cared about us, and that even if things went wrong, that at least they would care enough that they wouldn't want to see us devastated or homeless or penniless or jobless, right? I mean, they don't want to destroy our whole life just because things didn't work out, right? Well, narcissists, as many of us have unfortunately learned the hard way, really could not care less what happens to you when they're done with you. And if they can make $5 off of taking 10,000 away from you, they don't care. They'll do it if it benefits them. They're not going to weigh what it costs you for them to benefit even just a little bit, because it just doesn't matter to them. And of course, when we're in a relationship with somebody, this is something that we would never consider. We would never even think to ask, hey, if we break up, do you care at all if it ruins my life? Because we assume that we're with someone that wouldn't want to completely ruin our life for no reason. But as many of us have learned, when you break up with a narcissist, it's just automatically some kind of war, and they can become so vicious and ruthless and merciless. You wonder if you ever knew this person at all. And really, because of all these lies of omission, because of all these things that narcissists never tell you, maybe things that narcissists don't even admit to themselves, at the end of a narcissistic relationship, when we're forced to realize the truth of what we've been with all along, when we are suddenly confronted with the reality of the opposite of things that we have assumed, things that we should have been able to trust in, this is really, really hard to deal with, to reconcile. It's really hard to go back over an entire relationship and see it with completely different eyes and realize that the whole entire time there were these lies of omission. There were these things that we assumed that just weren't true, things that are part of a normal relationship. It's really hard to rebuild our trust after this type of experience. It's hard to rebuild our trust in ourselves, because we might go into the next relationship wondering, well, I was so sure that the last person was reasonable. How do I know this time that I can trust this person? And it takes a lot of work to rebuild that trust within ourselves and to understand what went wrong and why. But I guess I want to close this video out by saying that you can rebuild that trust. You can recover from this type of relationship, and you can take these lessons that you learn forward in your life in order to prevent this from happening to you in the future. You can learn to trust other people again, and you can learn to maybe trust people a little more slowly, and maybe expect people to earn your trust instead of just throwing it at them the way that narcissists expect you to. If you're looking for a way to support my channel and you've been considering professional therapy, BetterHelp is offering 10% off of your first month of service if you sign up using the link below in my description. And if you sign up using the link below in my description, I will get a one-time commission, and that'll help me out. It'll help you out as well if that's something you've been thinking about doing. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.